वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णो वन्दे जगद्गुरुं श्रीकृष्णो वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् ॐ Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Pranams from Dr. R.J. Kalpana. Welcome to the study of the Bhagavad Gita. In this session, we will study Chapter 10, VibhutiYoga, the Yoga of Divine Manifestations. Let us briefly recap our journey in the Bhagavad Gita thus far. We commenced our journey with Chapter 1, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, where we saw Arjuna's dilemma in picking up arms to fight against his own family. In Chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, the path of knowledge, Arjuna displays exquisite etiquette and turns to his friend Krishna and approaches Krishna as a disciple and seeks a guru's guidance. And Krishna then steps up into the role of a guru and unfolds the signs of the soul. And he says here, the only knowledge that can be classified as knowledge is the knowledge of the soul. In Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, the path of action, Krishna explains to us the manner in which we must go about performing our prescribed duties, in whichever stage of life we might be: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa, and in whichever order of society we might belong to: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And the secret that Krishna unveils to us, reveals to us in this chapter is that to perform the duty in a detached manner, without any emotional attachment to the duties and to the fruits, the results of such actions. In Chapter 4, Jnana Karma Samanyasa Yoga, the path of renunciation of even the knowledge of actions, Krishna unfolds to us the underlying knowledge of karma and how to even renounce that. So he asks us here, who is the doer? Who is the doership? And so therefore, he reveals to us the great spiritual secret in Slokas 6 to 10, the Nitya Pataniya Slokas, where we are introduced for the first time to the unmanifested reality and the manifested divinity. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharatah abhyuptanam adharmasya tadatmanam shrujamyaham Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. The promise of the divine to protect the righteous, to establish dharma, and to vanquish the adharma, and once again to restore world order. Then we proceeded to Chapter 5, Karma Samanyasa Yoga, the path of renunciation of our actions. And so here Krishna reveals another spiritual secret, how to even renounce the doership of the actions and the fruits of those actions. Karmanyevadhikarasya ma phaleshu kadachanaha. Do your actions and let the actions be done with constant remembrance of the divine. And the results of those actions, offer them to me, so you will be freed from bondage, from the samskaras that will be generated from those actions. In chapter 6, Atma Samyama Yoga, the path of self-control, Krishna introduces us to Dhyana Yoga, how to meditate. He introduces us to Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga in his Yoga Sutras, Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Asana, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. How to live a life with an ethical code of conduct, to live a life with high moral integrity, how to control the breath. Various ancient techniques of pranayama Krishna reveals to us in this chapter. How to maintain a posture, how to adopt the appropriate posture for meditation, to sit upright without slouching, how to harness the thoughts and let your mind be steadfast and let your intellect be focused on one thought only, the thought of the divine. And then we proceed to chapter 7, Jnana Vijnana Yoga. The unmanifested reality and the manifested divinity. And from this chapter onwards, Krishna has moved from being a friend to a guru, and now he steps up to being the divine, where he reveals to us the divine secrets, the secrets of the divinity, the cosmo and anthropogenesis of this world. In chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga, the eternal truth, Krishna introduces us to the cosmogenesis of the world. One night of Brahma, one day of Brahma, the cosmic day of creation and the cosmic night of dissolution. Brahma opens his eyes and the creation begins. Brahma closes his eyes and the dissolution takes place. And here also Krishna goes on to reveal to us what happens to the soul after death. He introduces us to the bright path and the dark path, the souls who have dedicated their life to God realization, who are on the path of spiritual evolution. For those yogis, when they depart the mortal world, they have two options: to leave at the time of Uttarayana, Shukla Paksha, the bright path, or to leave at the time of Dakshinarna, Krishna Paksha, the dark path. And Krishna also reveals to us about the path ordinary mortals, so far removed from spiritual evolution, or so far removed from any practices of attaining the divine. What paths do they leave after they leave their mortal body? In chapter 9, Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga, Krishna reveals to us the sovereign science and the sovereign secret. And he says, the only way to approach the divine in the higher realms is one of devotion, intense love, bhakti, unswerving loyalty and faith, Shraddha. And here Krishna introduces us to the 5 forms of the divine: Para, Vyuha, Vibhava, Archa and Antaryamin. The Para form is the Paratattva, the unmanifested reality. The Vyuha form is one of cosmic state, where the cosmos is constantly being churned, created, dissolutions are taking place constantly at a microcosmic and a macrocosmic level. The Vibhava is a state of various incarnations, the Avatara Purushas, Vamana, Narasimha, Rama, Krishna. The Archa is that vision with which the divine blesses the sages and kings in ancient times, and who, blessed with the divine vision, they construct temples and consecrate idols with a particular form in which the divine appeared to them. And therefore, this in turn helps the multitude of population in their own spiritual evolution. For those who are unable to understand abstract concepts like unmanifested reality, they need a finite form for worship, and therefore the idols introduce them to the concept of the divine principle, the first step in their spiritual evolution. So from the finite they travel towards the infinite. From the external, the prakara of the temple compound, they slowly travel towards the sanctum sanctorum, the Garbhagriha, the womb, the source from which all creation came. So from the external, they make their journey inwards to the internal. And then the Antaryaman, the presence of the divine within every soul, every jivatma, every living being rather, in the form of a jivatma, the Sakshi. The Upanishads call it the Sakshi. And so now we come to chapter 10, VibhutiYoga, the yoga of the divine glories of the divine. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Atha Dashamodhyayaha VibhutiYoga, the yoga of the divine manifestations. Shloka 1. Sri Bhagavan said, Arjuna, hear once again my supreme word, which I shall speak to you who are so loving, out of solicitude for your welfare. And so here Krishna says, the Param Vachaha, the supreme word, which unravels the mystery of the most secret virtues, the glory, the truth of the divine. And therefore, Krishna promises Arjuna that he will unfold this secret. And he says, I am doing this only because of your exceptional love towards me. And once again, there is a deep spiritual secret here for us. The only way we can approach the divine is with a deep sense of love. And the divine will also in its turn approach us out of solicitude for our own welfare. Shloka 2. Neither gods nor the great sages know the secret of my birth, my appearance in human or other garb out of mere sport. For I am the prime cause in all respects of gods as well of the great seers. And so here Krishna once again unveils a secret. Even the gods and the most enlightened of sages are unaware of the cause of the birth of the divine. This is like, to understand this concept, this is like a child looking at the wedding album of its parents and innocently asking, but where am I in the photographs? The gods themselves came much, much later. They too were created, and they too are subject to the dissolution of the universe. And therefore, rightly, the gods and the enlightened sages, they too do not have any access to that knowledge of from whence the divine came from, because they too owe their very existence to the Creator, to the divine. In Shloka 3, he who knows me in reality as birthless and without beginning, and as the supreme Lord of the universe, he undeluded among men is purged of all sins. And therefore, Krishna here says that perceive me, know me, experience me as that omniscient, immutable, eternal principle, without a beginning, without an end, birthless, and have no illusions about this knowledge. So once we arrive at that condition where we become face to face with the infinite, then we will be purged of all our samskaras. Because to even arrive at such a condition requires the greatest highest degree of purity. All our complexities and impurities have to be cleansed away. Our ego must be sublimated to utter humility, because we are standing at the doorstep of the divine. Shloka 4 and 5. Reason, right knowledge, unclouded understanding, forbearance, veracity, control over the senses and mind, joy and sorrow, evolution and dissolution, fear and fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, contentment, austerity, charity, fame and obloquy. These diverse traits of creatures emanate from me alone. And so here Krishna talks about the functions of the mind, the reasoning capability, the discerning capacity of the intellect, and says that every form of knowledge, from the worldly knowledge to the divine knowledge, everything, evolution and dissolution, fear and fearlessness, all these traits, they are all evolutes of the divine itself. This shloka, in essence, answers the questions of all the atheists in this world as to why God created evil. God didn't create evil. God created the potential for evil. We choose to fall. We choose to indulge in our aberrations, in our deviations. We choose to walk the path of pleasure instead of walking the moral high ground. No matter how difficult the path might be, we choose to indulge in the pleasures of the senses and broke all barriers in that enjoyment. And thereby we face the results of our own actions. All God, all the divine has to say is that understand that if there is pleasure, there's also going to be pain. Understand that for every aspect of fear, there will also be a concept of fearlessness. Understand, the divine says, that for every scoundrel there is a hero, that for every selfish politician there is a dedicated teacher. Teach him that for every friend there will be an enemy. We chose to ignore him. We chose to focus only on the negative, conveniently ignoring the positive. In Shloka 6, the 7 great seers, their 4 elders, and the 14 Manus, the progenitors of mankind, who are all devoted to me, were born of my will. From them, all these creatures in the world have descended. So this is the anthropogenesis of the humankind. So, what is the seven great seers that he is talking about? The Saptarishis. In every cycle, in every cosmic cycle, the Saptarishis will change. In the first cycle of Saptarishis, there were Atri, Angiras, Pulaha, Pulatsya, Kratu, Marichi, and Vashishta. The four elders that Krishna talks about are the mind-born sons of Brahma: Sanaka, Sanadana, Sanata, and Sanat Kumara. Brahma brought them forth and willed them into existence to help him populate earth. But they, enchanted by the divine, refused to participate in the act of procreation, and they took a vow of celibacy, and that is why they are known as Kumaras, the Brahmacharyas, the young ones. And in this cycle, our spiritual elder is Sanat Kumara. The 14 Manus, who are the progenitors of mankind, they are Swayambhuva, Swarochisha, Uttama, Tamasa, Raivata, Chakshusha, Vaivasvatha, Savarni, Daksha Savarni, Brahma Savarni, Dharma Savarni, Rudra Savarni, Deva Savarni, and finally Indra Savarni. In this cosmic time cycle that we are prevalent in, the elder in the spiritual hierarchy is Sanat Kumara, and the Manu, the progenitor of mankind, who is in charge of bringing forth, of procreation, is Vaivasvata Manu. And Krishna here tells that these seers, elders, and Manus, they have all been brought forth from my will, and they are all deeply devoted to me, to the divine, and it is from them that all of us have descended. Shloka 7. He who knows in reality this supreme divine glory and supernatural power of mine gets established in me through unfaltering devotion. Of this there is no doubt. And so here Krishna says that this is the reality of the existence of the divine. This is as far back in time as we are allowed to go, and it is through this potency of mine that the creation has taken forth. And approach me with unfaltering, intense love, and then we get a chance to merge with the divine. We get an opportunity for God realization. Shloka 8. I am the source of all creation, and everything in the world moves because of me. Knowing thus, the wise, full of devotion, constantly worship me. And so here Krishna points out that the wise seers, the enlightened souls, the evolved, advanced beings with so much of love. They constantly meditate upon the divine because they understand that it is the divine that is the source of all creation, and that the cause and effect, everything belongs to Him, originates from Him. Shloka 9. With their mind fixed on me and their lives surrendered to me, enlightening one another about my greatness, and speaking of me, my devotees ever remain contented and take delight in me. And here Krishna gives us the methodology. He says, fix the mind on the divine, surrender your lives to the divine, enlighten one another about my greatness, and therefore my devotees will remain content and take great pleasure in me. We are often familiar with the elders in our family advising us of how we should seek out the company of good people. Hopefully, some goodness will therefore rub off onto us. Narada once had the same question. So he goes to Vaikuntha and asks Vishnu, why should we all be in satsang with good souls? What is the purpose? Vishnu points to Bhuloka and says, a bird has just hatched out of its egg. Go and ask the newly hatched chick this question, and you will get your answer. So Narada comes to Bhuloka, to the earth, and he goes to that tree where the chick has just come from its egg. And Narada asks the same question. The chick looks at Narada and drops dead at its feet. Narada is horrified. He rushes back to Vaikuntha and says, I didn't do anything. I only asked the question and the bird just died. So Vishnu smiles and says, did you get your answer? Narada says, no, not yet. So then Vishnu says, there is a calf that is being born in Bhuloka. Why don't you ask the calf that question? So Narada once again travels to earth and goes to the cowshed where the calf has just been born and is trying to stand up on its legs. And Narada approaches the calf and asks the question, why should we seek out the presence of good people? The calf looks at Narada, moans, and drops dead. Narada, now scared, rushes back to Vaikuntha and informs Vishnu of what just happened. And Vishnu asks, did you receive your answer? Narada says, no, the calf just dropped dead at my feet. So Vishnu once again smiles and says, there is a prince that has just been born in this kingdom in Bhuloka. Why don't you go and ask your question? Narada is horrified. He said, what if the prince dies? The king will go to war. Vishnu smiles and says, trust me, nothing will happen. You will receive your answer. So Narada comes down to earth, visits the kingdom, and being a celestial sage, is received with great pomp and fanfare. And Narada walks towards the chamber where the prince is laid out and decked in a cradle. And the king and queen request Narada to kindly bless the prince. And Narada bends forth and whispers into the ear of the prince the question, why should we seek out good souls, and why should we remain in the company of the good souls? The prince smiles and looks at Narada and says, don't you recognize me? And Narada is confused. Oh sage, I was that little chick trying to hatch out of its egg when you appeared into my life, and look where it brought me. I moved from the life of being a bird to that of a calf. I was born a mammal. You once again approached me, and by your very presence, I was able to get a human form. Just by your very presence, you were able to catapult me into a higher dimension, into a higher life form. And now I'm that much more closer to merging with the divine, and that much more closer to uniting with the divine. And that is the reason why we require satsang. That is the reason why we require satsang with advanced souls, with the great masters, so we too will get a chance to advance in our own spiritual evolution. Om Yogesham Satchidanandam Vasudevam Rajapriyam Dharma Samstapakam Veeram Krishno Vande Jagat Gurum. Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu.